Hello, I am Surgeon General. One of my fastest mapping builds from Settlers League is always stationary and has basically no movement speed, but can still full clear a T16 strand in about a minute, through the power of automated teleportation. The playstyle is a acquired taste, but the build does about 15 million DPS, is all automated with a single button press, and is viable for T17 maps and pinnacle bosses. Let's take a look. Let's get into the mechanics. Our main damage source is also our method of teleporting around. We use Bodyswap of Sacrifice, which is a transfigure gem that prioritizes targeting the player's own minions. Upon skill use, the player is teleported to the minion's location, and the minion is destroyed in an explosion dealing base fire damage proportional to the minion's maximum health. We can use this minion explosion to scale our base damage to absurd levels, since minion base life scales with its gem level, and modifiers to minion life come in much larger quantities than those available to the player. Maximizing the health of the minion that we sacrifice will directly contribute to higher base damage on our main skill. Spectres have the potential to have the highest maximum life, but there are several issues with using them. First, they must be summoned from corpses. This means that we would have to work a Desecrate setup into the build in order to have corpses to raise the Spectres from. More importantly, Desecrate randomly selects possible corpse types from the Desecrate pool. Even if we had very high life corpses in our Desecrate pool, there is no way to guarantee that the specific corpse type would be selected and then raised as a Spectre. At best, there is only a 15% chance that we'd even get one of the corpse types that we wanted. Using this approach would lead to very inconsistent damage. We would only deal our high damage when we raise the correct Spectre, and since it is destroyed when we use Body Swap, we would then have to fish for the right Spectre again immediately. Instead, we will use raised zombies, which have consistently high minion life due to the large base health, which scales exponentially with their gem level, and the built-in more life multiplier on the gem. We circumvent the need for corpses to raise the zombies from by using the unique gloves Aukuna's Will, which conveniently also has some zombie life scaling. We push the gem level of raised zombies up to the soft cap of 30 through a combination of a corrupted level 21 gem, a level 4 Empower support, a +2 minion helmet, and a local modifier on our weapon. This gives our zombies a base health over 15,000. This is then scaled up with a total of just under 450% increased minion life from unique gear, Timeless Jewel passive nodes, Eldritch Implicits, and tattoos. Then again by 2 more multipliers, 63% from the level 30 skill gem and another 52% from minion life support. Stacking these sources leaves our zombies with just over 200,000 maximum life. Those are some big zombies. The explosion from our level 24 Bodyswap of Sacrifice deals 30% of the minion's maximum life as fire damage. When detonating one of these zombies, the explosion has over 60,000 base damage. This is an absurd number. For reference, this is more base damage than a level 20 discharge when expending 48 charges, or Replica Alberon's Warpath with 120,000 strength. That base damage is then scaled up in traditional manners. Large quantities of percent increased fire damage, more multipliers from frenzy charges, and elemental focus support, with a high crit chance and high crit multiplier. When all is said and done, our average hit against a pinnacle boss target is just under 3 million damage. In the next section, I will show how you can deliver this 1-2 punch of summoning and detonating the zombies automatically 5 times per second for about 15 million pinnacle boss damage per second. We have 2 skills that we need to automate: raising the zombies and then body swapping to them. I'll cover these one at a time and then show how they fit together. Spellslinger is a hybrid gem with both an active and support portion. The active Spellslinger skill goes on our skill bar and upon use turns linked spells into a pseudo aura, reserving mana and in return triggering those linked spells when we attack with a wand. We link this to body swap in our 6-link body armor. The base trigger cooldown for spells linked to Spellslinger is 0.6 seconds. In order to increase the speed we teleport with body swap and therefore increase our distance covered and damage per second, we need to scale this trigger rate way up. The table on the right shows the server tick cooldown breakpoints and the required amount of cooldown recovery rate needed to reach them. We'd like to push as far down on this table as possible. As you push to faster rates, the amount of increased CDR needed to get to the next breakpoint becomes progressively larger. The fastest we will practically be able to trigger body swap is at the 5.05 per second breakpoint. Spellslinger gets 40% increased cooldown recovery rate by itself at level 21, and we can get another 30% by stealing Light Clockwork from Saboteur with the Forbidden Jewels. Fortunately, Body Swap has the movement tag, so we can also leverage sources of increased cooldown recovery rate for movement skills. We anoint Fleetfoot for 30%, take 2 small passive nodes in the Mysticism wheel for another 30%, and then wear Replica Badge of the Brotherhood with 8 frenzy charges for another 80%. Altogether, this gets our body swap under the 0.198 second server tick threshold for a final maximum trigger rate of 5.05 times per second. To automate our zombie generation, we will use the unique wand Poet's Pen, which has a built-in trigger. This choice was made because of its inherently low 0.25 second base cooldown and because it provides a whopping +4 gem levels to socketed skills, which is very valuable for scaling the life of our minions. Conveniently, it also triggers on wand attack, just like Spellslinger, so we can automate both spells with the same action. Because of the lower base cooldown, we only need 27% cooldown recovery rate to get to the 5.05 triggers per second threshold for this setup. Fortunately, we already have this met from our Light Clockwork Forbidden Jewels. You can verify your setup is correct by checking the skill cooldowns on the skill bar, which should read 0.19 seconds, or more accurately, by finding the trigger rate cap in the calculations panel of Path of Building, which should read 5.05 per second. We now have both of our skills on the same cooldown and triggering on wand attack. The choice of what wand skill we use to proc our spells doesn't really matter. I've chosen Kinetic Bolt of Fragmentation because it has good coverage for proccing on-hit curses, but mostly because I like its green skill MTX. To play the build, all you have to do is hold down the Kinetic Bolt button and press in the direction you want to go. What happens is that at the moment your character fires Kinetic Bolt, a zombie is raised near the curse's location. Your character will then attempt to teleport to a minion near the curse's location. Unfortunately, it seems that the minions are untargetable on the same server tick that they are raised, so actually it's on the next attack that you will teleport to the zombie from the first attack and place a new zombie ahead of you. Think of the whole process as leapfrogging from zombie to zombie. When you just hold down the Kinetic Bolt button, it all repeats in a somewhat smooth process. Maximizing the trigger rate and therefore the speed and damage of the build is just a matter of getting our wand attack speed as close as possible to the 5.05 triggers per second ceiling as possible. In my setup, using a Poet's Pen with 12% local attack speed, this was achieved with 144% increased attack speed through a combination of passive skills, onslaught, frenzy charges, and 1 jewel. I decided to package this interaction into a build using Trickster. Going Shadow is almost mandatory for access to the cooldown recovery from Light Clockwork. The +2 Frenzy Charges node is best in slot. It both helps us reach our cooldown threshold via Badge of the Brotherhood and also gives us endurance charges through the same unique for more tankiness. Escape Artist is very strong this league with the new armor bases, and Spellbreaker is pivotal for capping suppression since we are using unique gloves and want an energy shield only helmet to get the most out of Escape Artist. The last ascendancy point is a flex. Polymath gives about 20% more damage, or you can take Soul Drinker to have a consistent source of energy shield recovery. If you do take Soul Drinker, remember that you have to build around the conditional attack speed while leeching, or you will brick the trigger rate. Since the minion explosion we're using to deal damage doesn't scale well with any of the offensive auras, we're free to use our mana reservation on defensive auras. We have a respectable amount of flat evasion from our gear and our ascendancy, which gets juiced up to 30,000 with grace. We don't have a ton of access to armor, but we can use a granite flask and determination to get to about 16,000 armor, which is plenty for those hits that do make it through our evasion. Together, we have about an 80% chance to evade against level 84 enemies and a phys max hit around 20,000. Since we're a hybrid life and energy shield build, we need to solve recovery for both. We path right past the Ghost Dance Keystone, so we can leverage Ghost Shrouds, which will cause us to instantly recover about a third of our energy shield when we're hit. For recovering our life, we take advantage of an interaction between the unique shield Maligaro's Lens and the Necromantic Aegis Keystone. The Keystone forces all modifiers on our shield to instead apply to our minions. With Maligaro's Lens, this makes it so that whenever one of our minions dies, we will recover 1% of their maximum life. Since we're killing zombies with 200,000 HP 5 times per second, this makes us recover more than 10,000 HP per second. We're functionally immortal to any damage over time with this setup. There's a path to building link in the description below. I had a lot of fun putting this build together. There's a lot of moving parts and puzzle pieces that need to be put together in a very specific way. Getting the interactions optimized and the timing just right was very rewarding. I will warn though that the playstyle is definitely not for everyone, and some of the gearing is pretty specific and can get expensive to craft. If you're looking for an end-of-league project and a way to burn down some currency by putting together an exceptionally unique build with some fun interactions, this one may be for you. I hope that this video has given you some ideas of tech that you can work into your own builds. If you have other tech that you would like me to cover in the mathematically correct way, please feel free to suggest them in the comments as well. If you enjoyed the video or are interested in more content of this type or in-depth build guides with an emphasis on mechanics, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your support.